40, we're looking at the story of Joseph in prison after he's been falsely accused. Let's remember to pray for our church family today. Today we want to pray for the Clark family. We're praying for Chad and Margolin, Canaan and Riley. So we see that in this chapter, Joseph, he's in prison. He's been promoted. He sort of has this role of leadership within the dungeon. We know God has been with him in a pretty terrible place. It comes about that two of Pharaoh's officials are also thrown into prison. We've got the baker and both of them, so happens that they have these dreams. And Joseph wakes up in the morning and he sees them sitting there and they're upset, they're sad, and he wants to know what's wrong with them. Well, we've had these dreams. It's like they know that they are messages for them, but they're not exactly sure what they mean, and they don't have an interpreter there to be able to tell them what the message is. Also, it makes me wonder if they kind of realized these dreams were messages about what their fate was going to be, what was going to happen, prison sentence. And so they're concerned about it. They want to know the meaning. And Joseph knows that God is able to do it, and he comes up to him and says, I think one of the most striking verses in this chapter, don't interpretations belong to the Lord? Absolutely they do. And so he interprets it to them. We see that it ends up being favorable for the butler. He's going to be reinstated. Not so favorable for the baker. He is going to be sentenced to death. So what can we take from this story? First of all, I think, we think about what Pastor Mike talked about in the service yesterday. Talked about the sovereignty of God. How even through all this garbage, Joseph has been betrayed by his family, lied about, thrown into prison. He's in the dungeon, yet God has blessed him everywhere he's went, but still, things just, he's not in the ideal situation. And you think about that dream that Joseph had, where he was going to be, in this place of authority, and this just does not seem to be in line with what God's plan was, and yet we know it absolutely is, because God is sovereign. God is still in control, even in this muck and the mire that Joseph is in. And I think that's the thing. That's why God works that way, because it really glorifies him. It shows that only God could have done this plan. There ain't no glory going to Joseph in this plan, because he just kind of like he's just tumbling through it. I think one of the things that just stood out to me was that verse. Don't interpretations belong to God? I think we still see Joseph growing in his faith, understanding God's sovereignty, trusting in that. This could have been just another situation where, we know the butler ends up forgetting about him, and another thing that just went wrong for Joseph. But he enters into the situation, and he ends up glorifying God because of it. He could have very well, saw these two guys sad, and he could have said, well, tell me about your dreams. I'll see if I can figure it out for you. Let me put my 2 cents in. Absolutely not what was needed. He points them to God. He says, I can't do it, but, it belongs to God. This situation is under his control. You tell him to me, and we'll let God figure out this problem for you guys. And this situation is going to end up leading to Joseph being raised up. But I think about that, his faith, even just in this situation, to be able to minister to these two guys. I think that's true no matter what we encounter today. Every situation is under the authority of God. Just like solving this problem of the dreams, maybe we won't encounter something like that today. But, we're going to encounter problems, and we can go up and we can offer our 2 cents. We can try to solve it in our power, or we can say, God is sovereign, and doesn't this belong to him? Let's go before him and see what his solution is. Let's seek his wisdom. You don't need me. We need to seek him. And So that's a message I personally take from this chapter today. If God revealed something to you, I'd pray that, or ask that you leave it to us on Facebook or YouTube. Let's remember to minister to one another.